recall being excited that morning, the first time ever I went on a fishing trip with my dad on a Saturday morning. We puttered along to the middle of the lake, shut off the engine, cast our lines, and waited. We sat there, waiting and waiting for a bite, but nothing came. Just a nibble here and there. We chatted about mundane things for a while until my pole and even the boat lurched forward. Something massive had gotten hooked and was slowly pulling us around. I yelled for my dad to help me, and he took the pole and attempted to reel in whatever gargantuan fish I had hooked. My dad was a big guy, so to see him strain so much against a fish was startling. Eventually, we were pulled farther and farther out into the lake. As he struggled, I looked out into the distance and saw what looked like a tugboat. Confused, I asked my dad if he saw it too. He grunted that he had and told me to shout to them to help us out. I called out to the boat, but after getting close enough to see it, I regretted yelling immediately. The boat was covered in blood and organs and looked terribly rusted with no one on board. At first, I thought there was some horrible accident until I saw the tentacles that sprouted out from it and what looked like eye stalks. I shouted for my dad to just let the pole go as we needed to leave immediately. But he was too engrossed in what he was doing to notice. He did manage to reel in the fish, which actually turned out to be on that tugboat's tentacles. My dad freaked out and chucked it into the water along with the fishing pole. He quickly turned on the engine in an attempt to get out of there. The tugboat sped through the water behind us, its tentacles flailing behind us, chunks of rancid-smelling flesh being launched at us from God knows where. My dad told me to open his tackle box and remove the top layer. I did and found a gun, which I didn't even know he had one. He shouted instructions at me on how to use it, and I immediately opened fire on the thing as best as I could. By the grace of God or some unknown entity, a few of my shots slowed it down enough for us to get to shore. We abandoned the boat and opted to just get away by driving. I peered out the window and saw the tugboat just sitting there in the shallows before sinking below the water. Personally, I think that whatever it was hurt, and so figured we weren't worth chasing any further. Who knows? As for my dad and me, we spend all of our time on land now, pretending we never encountered some kind of eldritch beast. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Keter Class Object SCP-6426. SCP-6426, also known as Vampire Boat, is an anomalous marine vessel currently in Foundation custody after a prolonged battle with the entity in 3 Portlands, an extra-dimensional city-state located within a pocket universe, which overlaps with the locations of Portland, Maine, Portland, Oregon, and the Isle of Portland in the United Kingdoms. It is the largest paranormal enclave in North America, and is one of the most populous locations to be entirely concealed behind the veil. 6426 is a sapient tugboat with vampiric characteristics. It is ambulatory, meaning it has adapted certain parts of its structure into appendages that can carry itself on land. 6426 is incredibly hostile towards all living things and very predatory by nature. As for its physical appearance, 6426 looks like an incredibly rusted tugboat, albeit consisting of both metal and organic material. In order to repair itself, 6426 drains the blood from its prey. Not only blood, but any organ-filled or entity that has blood will also be absorbed into its biomass. Excess blood and organic material are converted to large tentacles, cannons, and harpoons. The purpose of these weapons are used almost exclusively in capturing new prey and defense if necessary. Other than weaponry, 6426 can also create eye-like appendages that produce cognitohazards in order to lure in prey. It should be noted that the cannonballs shot from 6426 consist of anomalous barnacles. These barnacles take the place of the missing flesh of the host they puncture, and then in turn take control of the host, killing them in the process. These converted entities are classified as SCP-6426-C. Not only that, they can move on their own and become rolling masses of carnivorous flesh. The tentacles that 6426 uses have leech-like mouths that are used in the conversion of would-be prey. These mouths puncture the skin of the living organism and clamp down on the base of the spinal column, killing the host. These entities, designated as SCP-6426-A, are similar to what we know as vampires. Instances of 6426-A suck the blood from prey, sending the supply of blood to 6426 and also serve to protect 6426. These entities can be granted unique powers from 6426, ranging from extreme physical strength and speed to insanely durable bodies. These instances can be absorbed should it run low on blood or heal itself. The last ability unique to 6426 is that it can create instances of SCP-6426-B. These instances are boats converted through the use of 6426, coating it with its organic matter. These boats are less intelligent versions of 6426 and can act independently of it, but will respond to any and all orders that 6426 gives them. The discovery of 6426 was a very violent affair. It manifested within the waters of 3 Portlands after converting over a dozen boats. All of these instances supplied some organic matter to create a massive fleshy wall entrapping the Gunrock district. These instances in 6426 then embarked on a massive campaign to slaughter and absorb all the organic matter in the district, humans. Military personnel were dispatched immediately and were able to combat these instances to a certain extent. While they were able to protect some civilians, it was the 3 Portland's very own local law enforcement security golems who were able to push them back. One golem in particular charged at 6426 and managed to beat it down, injuring it severely. Unfortunately, the golem was dispatched rather quickly after 6426 repeatedly slammed on top of it, shattering it. Another entity, a parahuman within 3 Portlands known only as the Gruel, fought it off with twin swords but was unable to kill it. Before the instances could overrun the Gunrock district, extra security personnel arrived, shattered through the barrier with numerous golems. These golems fought back all instances of 6426-A, B, and C. The Gruel then used its impressive strength to beat 6426 down, launch it into the air, and punched it so hard it opened a waypoint to our reality. The now unconscious 6426 was then apprehended by the Foundation and has been in custody since. While many civilians were killed in the apprehension of 6426, a valuable piece of information was learned. 6426 and its instances are weak to Electrum. All Foundation security personnel guarding its containment unit are given Electrum bullets in an effort to stall it should it try to breach containment, until better and stronger forces can arrive to subdue it. A few months after containment, 6426 managed to breach its containment and go on a slaughter throughout the Foundation facility it was housed in. However, when on-site security personnel cornered the entity within an office space, they observed something peculiar. It suddenly began fixating at the Foundation's insignia on the wall, as if fascinated or perplexed, and then ceased its rampage and absorbed all the converted personnel and used their biomass to construct an organic siren which began emitting human vocalizations. A junior researcher, Dr. Williamson, was sent to speak with 6426 on his very first day with the Foundation. Do I really got to speak with the fleshy boat monster? Yep, you're the best man we've got now. What happened to the other researchers? I'm just a junior. Most qualified personnel was killed when it went on rampage. As for your head researcher, well, you just heard him coming through its siren. Why don't you do it? You seem oddly calm about all this. I'm a director, not a doctor. I'm in charge of the workings of the facility. You're in charge of the science stuff. Now go talk to it. You'll be fine. Damn it. All right. Here we go. Dr. Williamson stepped into the room shakily. In contrast, the entity appeared apprehensive, diplomatic even, as it waited patiently for Dr. Williamson's approach. Hello? I'm Dr. Williamson. You must be… Suddenly, its siren blared again, and out came the voice of the site's former head researcher. I am so sorry. I thought you were those self-righteous lunatics from the church. I apologize profusely for any trouble I may have caused, and I want to point out I fully support your mission. The room was dumbfounded by this turn of event. An eldritch boat monster apologizing for its behavior was simply too far out of the Foundation's expectation. You are, of course, from Shark Punching Center, yes? Actually, we are… Play along. Well, yeah, I'm from the Shark Punching Center, of course. Apparently, it had mistaken them for the Church of the Broken God. This information caused lots of speculations to run rampant throughout the researchers who were present and afterward. It would appear that because of the fleshy amalgamation the 6426 was, it could be related to the flesh that hates, or some other spawn of Yaldabaoth, the god of the Sarkics. When asked why 6426 went on a rampage, it said that it was hunting an Admiral Izzet. Izzet in the church had been hunting his kind for a long time. 6426 then explained that everyone and everything were nothing but cabin boys wandering around in blackness, unable to do anything. And it was the church that prevented greatness and joy in the world. But to make the world a better place, they must invite the beast in through a waypoint in 3 Portlands. Dr. Williamson and the other researchers were astounded by this information. They were aware of the large number of anomalous entities, objects, and phenomena in 3 Portlands, but none were aware that there is a waypoint capable of bringing such entities like Yeldaboth. It was at this point that 6426 began to question whether or not he was truly speaking with the Shark Punching Center, as it thought. Yeah, we are the Shark Punching Center. We will determine if you are a suitable candidate to carry out the mission, to search, punch, and contain sharks.
Oh wait, did you say containment? I can sense a lie in your words. Yes, you're lying.
Thanks to the inexperience of Dr. Williamson, 6426 discovered the ruse and immediately attempted to escape, crashing into the nearby wall multiple times in order to break through. Fortunately, with the help of some on-site electrum and sonic weapons, 6426 was subdued and contained. While the Foundation is concerned with 6426 breaching containment in the future, what they learned from it was far more disturbing, which is the fact that there are unknown waypoints in 3 Portlands that can accidentally be opened at any time, waypoints that can bring forth eldritch beings from another reality. When the O5 Council was made aware of such ramifications, they almost unanimously decided to start an expedition to find any and all waypoints. And should any be found, they are to be forcefully shut, their location marked down, and cut off from the general public. The only one who opposed was O53. O53 stated that searching for such waypoints would ensure their destruction. She explained that it would become a self-fulfilling prophecy to find them. Who's to say that if they find a waypoint, some entity wouldn't just cross over immediately and kill everyone? Or perhaps they would find the waypoint to Yeldaboth. What then? O53 petitioned the administrator, the only figure with authority above the council. After reviewing both sides of the argument, he ruled in favor of O53. His reasoning was as follows. Time and time again, we have protected the normalcy of the world, prevented abominations from leaking into our plane of existence, and more. I assumed you all would be competent enough to understand that trying to find them would be disastrous. Under normal circumstances, this would be fine. But I cannot believe I must remind you all that we are not equipped to combat such profane and horrid things as an elder god. O53 is correct in her argument. The next time I have to step in for something like this, expect an in-depth review of not only your performance, but your competency. With that said, the council then ruled in favor of leaving such unidentified waypoints alone, in fear of summoning something vile, and of the administrator. Moments later, they seemed to have found something attached to the interior structure of one of the main turrets. It looks like rubber, but they were not sure. Hence, they decided to take a sample of it for further inspection. As they were getting closer to it, it started bleeding. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Keter-class object SCP-4217. SCP-4217 refers to both the Bismarck, an anomalous German battleship sunk on the 27th of May 1941, hereafter refer as SCP-4217-A, and the large cephalopoid organism that is fused to the inside of its hull, hereafter refer as SCP-4217-B. 4217-B possesses a pair of octopoid eyes, which protrude from the base of 4217-A's superstructure, and 12 100 to 200 meter long muscular hydrostats that extend from an opening in the stern. Now, aside from the presence of 4217-B, 4217-A shows no signs of damage sustained from battle or subsequent decades submerged underwater. B seemingly operates A's systems. This includes its full armament of 8 main guns, 44 secondary guns, and 12 anti-aircraft guns. B also can operate A's propellers to reach speeds approaching 40 knots, but only while surfaced. While submerged, SCP-4217 achieves locomotion via ejection of water from B's body cavity, with an average speed of approximately 30 knots. Typically, SCP-4217 remains submerged at a depth of 500 to 1100 meters, navigating its territory. However, 4217 will periodically surface and enter a hostile state. This can occur even during predatory behavior, as evidenced by one instance wherein 4217 pulled a dying sperm whale to the surface before abandoning it. During this period, 4217 will seek and attack non-threatening targets, such as civilian cargo ships. If sufficiently damaged, it will revert to a passive state. Otherwise, it reverts after about 9 hours. Previously, the SCP-4217 designation referred only to the Bismarck itself, which was believed to have been neutralized in 1941. However, to verify the status of 4217, a team from MTF Gamma 6 Deep Feeders was dispatched on the 16th of February 1985. 3 days later, the surface crew reported that the dive team had remained submerged for several hours past what their oxygen supplies allowed. Shortly thereafter, they detected the distress signal from the submersible's black box recorder and retrieved it. According to the transcript, Agents Victor Miller and Charles Taylor, aboard a Model SM-03 submersible equipped with Model RV-1 marine probe, 26 minutes later, they successfully located the wreckage of 4217. They went to take a closer look at the hull, and they found barnacles all over it. They then found an open hatch and went inside. The interior of 4217 was in very good condition, no rust, and they can still read the signs. Moments later, they seem to have found something attached to the interior structure of one of the main turrets. It looks like rubber, but they were not sure. Hence, they decided to take a sample of it for further inspection. As they were getting closer to it, it started bleeding. Agent Taylor panicked and started yelling, "Get us out of here, Vic! I'm cutting the umbilical now! Let's go! The ship has eyes. Why does it have eyes? Shit! This was supposed to be an easy mission!" Suddenly, there was a rumbling, sound of bending metal, and then Agent Miller shouted, "Something grabbed us!" Then the glass started cracking, and water rushing in through the glass. Video record cuts to static. No one knows what happened to Agent Miller and Agent Taylor, alive or dead. The first sighting of 4217 in its current form was made shortly thereafter. It was responsible for sinking 2 cargo carriers and 1 cruise liner prior to the establishment of current containment procedures. Cover stories were disseminated to explain the lost vessels. Foundation misinformation teams constructed a replica of the Bismarck and sank it 100 kilometers east of the location of 4217's rediscovery. Arrangements were then made for a high-profile civilian oceanographer to discover it on the year 1989. Following the collapse of a division of the Russian Department for Anomalies, which was found after World War II, the SCP Foundation acquired a number of documents that the division had recovered during the Soviet occupation of Germany. Among these documents were a number of internal memos, believed to be related to SCP-4217. One of the letters was from Otto Schmidt to Carl Reuter, with a title, Artifact. The letter wrote, "I have some reservations about your plans for the artifact. Yes, the trials did show that its effects could extend out to the ranges you desired, but they were greatly diminished. Furthermore, our test subjects have been far from peak physical or mental health. We don't know if it will do more than slightly confuse enemy crews. Please, we need to study it more before trying to use it." End quote. And the final letter was from Carl Reuter to Hans Meyer. This letter talked about a creation called Compound 17. Carl made an appointment to meet Dr. Meyer at his facility for a demonstration of Compound 17 and its interesting side effects. Carl had also mentioned this at the end of the letter. "If what you show me is satisfactory, I might be willing to extend your deadline. I suggest you take full advantage of this opportunity." On July 22, 1993, SCP-4217 appeared to enter a hostile state, and Foundation naval forces prepared to enact special containment procedures in response. However, before any vessels were able to reach firing range, Kurt Wegner, captain of the SCPS Nemid, noticed that SCP-4217 was not moving from the location where it had surfaced. As this was different from previously observed behavior, Captain Wegner ordered other crew members to hold position while he investigated. 4217 was unresponsive to the presence of the crew, even when the latter drew within 200 meters. After a brief period of observation, Captain Wegner began to hail 4217 over the radio. Below is the conversation between 4217 and Captain Wegner. Repeat, this is Captain Kurt Wegner of the SCPs Nemet. Can you understand me? Please respond. Confusion. You speak German? German? Yes. Do you understand what I am saying? Yes. You ship? Captain, SCP-4217's eyes just focused on us. Yes, that's us. What about you? Can you tell us what you are, or where you came from? Confusion. Do you mean you don't know, or that you don't understand? Understand. Remember many. Confusion. What do you mean, remember many? While Captain Wegner was trying to converse with 4217, 4217 sent video feed of hundreds of images in rapid succession. Notable subjects include various early 20th century German cities, an unknown artificial structure in space, Adolf Hitler delivering a speech, the HMS Ark Royal, and the planet Jupiter. So, are these your memories? Was that Jupiter? Is that where you're from? Confusion. Jupiter, the big planet, with the red spot, the storm. Storm? Red? The feed began showing images of Jupiter with increasing frequency, and quickly turned into a single video. The viewpoint of the video was approaching the planet, specifically the Great Red Spot. Suddenly, 4217's tentacles started to twitch. It was getting agitated. While Captain Wegner was trying to calm 4217 down, the other crew members were getting ready with their weapons. The video was getting even closer to Jupiter's Great Red Spot. Visible in the center of the storm was SCP-2399. The image flickers and changes multiple times, first replacing SCP-2399 with the HMS Ark Royal, then the SCPs Nemet. Suddenly, SCP-4217 let out an incoherent shrieking. A bright flash obscures the video. 4217 begins to fire erratically in all directions while thrashing its tentacles. The SCPs Nemet subdued SCP-4217 without further incident. 4217 has not responded to subsequent attempts at communication. Now, Foundation naval forces are to patrol SCP-4217's territory with 3 or more battleships under the guise of the British Royal Navy. During a hostile state, naval forces are to engage with 4217 until it reverts to a passive state. Survivors from civilian vessels attacked by 4217 are to be recovered and processed in accordance with maritime disinformation protocols. Dr. Krishnamurthy says, Manava, I was wrong. God save me. It's not. SCP-3000 strikes and quickly consumes Krishnamurthy. 3000 disappears into the darkness and is no longer visible on exterior cameras. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today we bring you a SCP Foundation Thayumel class object, SCP-3000. SCP-3000, also known as an Anantashesha, is a massive, aquatic serpentine entity strongly resembling a giant moray eel. Its size is impossible to determine, but it is estimated to be roughly between 600 to 900 kilometers in length. Its head measures roughly 2.5 meters in diameter, and sections of the body proper are as large as 10 meters in diameter. 3000 is carnivorous and typically a sedentary creature, only moving its head in response to certain stimuli or during feeding. Despite its sedentary nature, 3000 is capable of moving quickly to dispatch prey. However, it doesn't actually need nutrients to maintain its biological function, though its size is huge. It is unknown exactly what happened to the prey it consumes, but during feeding, 3000 excretes through its skin a thin layer of a viscous, dark gray substance classified as Y909. The Y909 compound is a critical component in several modern and experimental amnestic compounds. SCP-3000 is a Class 8 cognitohazardous entity. Direct observation of 3000 may cause several mental alterations. the observer will experience inexplicable head pain, paranoia, general fear and panic, and memory loss or alteration. According to a log from Site 151's historical records, written by Dr. Eugene Getz, during the initial discovery of SCP-3000, an unease was felt throughout the entire crew. A biologist of the Foundation named William felt the most ill. He began sweating profusely and acted more and more erratically, at one point expressing uncertainty as to the task he was assigned to handle. When the crew finally came into contact with 3000, William began whimpering and had to be sedated. He muttered the word "no" over and over again, as if in disbelief. He went silent after a while as the crew approached 3000's head. Something had gone from William's eyes. Moments after they observed the head of SCP-3000, several other crew members complained of feeling hazy and of being uncertain what they were supposed to be doing. Captain Ritter wrote it off as nitrogen intoxication and forced them to continue approaching 3000. When the crews were 50 meters away from 3000, it turned slowly to look at them. At that moment, William began screaming and flailing, shouting about how he could see it in his head. Other Foundation personnel tried to restrain him, but he got free and smashed his face against one of the portholes. He hit it so hard he cracked the inner layer of glass. The damage was bad enough that the crew had to surface and try to give William medical attention, but he was too far gone at that point. Despite the trauma, he still spoke briefly as he lay dying. He said, "There's nothing, nothing, nothing." By the time they had reached the surface several hours later, William was dead. In the log, Dr. Eugene Getz wrote that even now he can still see the eyes of SCP-3000. Despite this incident, a diving expedition was ordered to personally assess the creature and investigate the source of the thick, gray fluid that had been observed floating around its head. The dive team was composed of 3 members of Mobile Task Forces, Kingfishers. All divers were equipped with high-pressure suits as well as front-facing headlamps. The water was dark and cold. They were in position about 500 meters from the head of SCP-3000. Moments after being in the water, the team leader told the command station that they seemed to have some confusion over their call sign, and they were not sure where they were going. They felt an awful headache, like something's needling in their brain. Regardless, command told the team to continue towards 3000, but all the divers were completely confused about where they were. As they continued approaching, one of the divers began to utter ominous phrases concerning oblivion and dark eyes. Just at that moment, command detected 3000 moving rapidly towards the divers, and their radios went silent. After 33 seconds of silence, one of the divers finally answered to the radio. According to the log, the leader of the team said 3000 opened its mouth, and suddenly there was the sound of a struggle through the other 2 radios. Only one of them remains. The other 2 have been eaten by 3000. The one remained not being eaten claimed that it's extremely difficult to form thoughts while near 3000. He said that the fluid was seeping through the skin around its head, about a meter back. Just looking at the stuff is making him feel like the room is spinning. He feels nauseous, and his head isn't working right. He went to retrieve a sample and attached it to one of those little balloons and let it float up so command will be able to get it later. After that, he claimed that he knows he is dying and told the command station not to send anyone else out there. It is so dark. Command continued to attempt to communicate with 09 Bravo, but Bravo grew increasingly unintelligible before eventually going completely silent. Bravo's radio stayed active over the next 3 days, and intermittent breathing could be heard until the radio ceased functioning. In the beginning, we have mentioned that SCP-3000 is a Thaumiel-class entity. Thaumiel-class SCPs are anomalies that the Foundation specifically uses to contain other SCPs. Even the mere existence of the Thaumiel-class objects is classified at the highest level of the Foundation, and their locations, functions, and current status are known to few Foundation personnel outside of the O5 Council. So, how can a giant moray eel that messes up your head helps the SCP Foundation in their operations? The answer is in the dark gray substance classified as Y909. SCP Foundation uses a large number of amnestic during their work. It is vital for keeping the secrecy of the Foundation. The inclusion of the Y909 compound has shown a marked increase in the stability and long-term effectiveness of the Foundation's amnestics. Overall, amnestics utilizing Y909 break down 78% slower than their standard counterparts in cold storage, and 52% slower than their standard counterparts at room temperature. Additionally, individuals administered an amnestic regimen utilizing Y909 show a marked increase in suggestibility, memory clearance, and a significant decrease in additional side effects. Individuals treated with these amnestics express significantly fewer intrusive memories as those without Y909, with some individuals exposed to experimental compounds expressing no intrusive memories whatsoever, even at the 5 and 10-year marks. Due to the effectiveness of these treatments with the addition of Y909, the continued inclusion of the compound is essential to modern Foundation amnestic application. The SCP Foundation has completely relied on the Y909 compound with no means to synthetically reproduce it. Hence, the ATZAC protocol has been developed. This protocol dictates the way the Y909 compound is collected off of SCP-3000 and the way personnel are to interact with 3000. According to the brief framework of the procedure documented, one individual D-class subject is to be administered a sedative and equipped with a high-pressure diving suit. The subject is then to be tethered to a remotely operated underwater vehicle, ROV, within the aft airlock. The airlock is to be flooded, and the subject is to be towed by the ROV towards the feeding site. Upon reaching the feeding site, the ROV is to disconnect its tether, leave the subject there, and return to the Foundation submarine, named SCP-F Aramida. Throughout this stage, SCP-F Aramida should monitor SCP-3000's position and adjust course if the entity begins to move away from the feeding site. Mission Command will provide additional instructions during this phase if necessary. During the feeding session, no personnel are permitted to leave the Aramida without authorization from the Mission Command. At a point after the total consumption of prey, SCP-3000 will begin to excrete Y909 near the foremost section of its body. Specialized teams of deep-sea divers are to exit the SCP-F Aramida through the aft airlock and approach SCP-3000. Collection of Y909 must take place during SCP-3000's digestive period, which is currently believed to be roughly 2.5 hours after consumption of prey. Teams must return to launch craft before the end of this period. During this period, the typical effects of SCP-3000 are less severe, though Command should continue to monitor these teams for damage to their cognition. After the collection of Y909, personnel are to transfer the collected substance to secure containers before returning to the surface. The mission administrator on board the Aramida is to monitor the substance throughout transport. The following report concerns 2 doctors: the Foundation's Level 3 researcher, Dr. Krish Namurthy, and a staff clinical psychologist, Dr. Manava. Dr. Manava was assigned to interview Dr. Krishnamurthy after he attempted to exit out the Aramida's aft airlock without diving equipment. Dr. Krishnamurthy begins discussing how he feels disconnected from his mind and tired from trying to keep it together. He's forgetting things, having other people's dreams, and faces he doesn't recognize, places he has never been. Clearly, his proximity to 3000 is greatly affecting him. At this point, Dr. Krishnamurthy couldn't remember his mother's voice, but he recalls that she told him about a god called Anantashesha, the king of serpents that lies beneath the god Vishnu in the cosmos. When the light of the universe had gone out, all that would be left is Anantashesha. Dr. Krishnamurthy believes that SCP-3000 is Anantashesha. He says in the interview with Dr. Manava, I believe that SCP-3000 is Anantashesha. I believe that this aberration, this treachery against cognition, is the result of us being in the presence of a god. Not just a god, but a god who exists across all time, all at once, and even beyond. Maybe some part of the nothingness beyond the edge of time is part of Anantashesha as well. After 2 days of containment, orders were received to lift the hold order on Dr. Krishnamurthy in accordance to the terms of the ATZAC protocol. 3 hours after Dr. Krishnamurthy was released from his holding cell, the following incident took place. Dr. Krishnamurthy stands near the entrance to the Aramida's aft airlock while weeping and prepares to open the airlock door. Interior airlock camera captures Dr. Krishnamurthy staring at the exterior airlock door for a full 2 minutes, not moving an inch. After 2 minutes, he collapses on the ground. As 3000 slowly approaches the submarine, Dr. Krishnamurthy puts on a high-pressure deep-sea diving suit, and then moves towards exterior door controls and then exits the Aramida's aft airlock. SCP-3000 slowly appears out of the darkness, reaches Dr. Krishnamurthy, and its mouth begins to open. Aramida sounds horns, but neither SCP-3000 nor subject appear to notice. 3000 moves to just above Dr. Krishnamurthy. He appears to look up into the now fully expanded jaw of 3000. Dr. Krishnamurthy says, "Manava, I was wrong. God save me. It's not." SCP-3000 strikes and quickly consumes Krishnamurthy. 3000 disappears into the darkness and is no longer visible on exterior cameras. Rescue crews are recalled. The crew begins to initiate ATSAC protocol.